In this video, I'm going to experiment a little bit with some of Visio's automatic layout features, including showing you how to set up a diagram in the first place before you start laying it out. So what we see right now is a haphazard network diagram that maybe illustrates the equipment our small sales team have. And what we actually have is three groups of laptop, PDA, and mobile phone, although people probably don't use PDAs anymore because the mobile phones do everything. And I've started giving them 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2 IDs. Can you see them anywhere? And we want to change the last number on this last set to 3. So I just double click the shape, go to the end, change that to a 3, double click, go to the end, hit 3. I'll click on this one because it's got a mistake, and I can actually go up and click the text tool instead of double clicking. It's the same effect. We'll turn that to a 2. So now we've got, let's switch back to the pointer tool. We've got three groups of shapes, and we want to finish connecting them. So I'm going to get the connector tool, just because I'm used to doing that. And I want to connect from a higher level shape to a lower level shape. Networks don't always have this notion, but it's going to help with our layout. And it's somewhat important for things like org charts or flow charts to maintain that order. Since the network diagrams don't have arrowheads on them, it's not as important, but I think it actually helps layout. So if you do have a hierarchy, start at higher shapes and go to lower shapes, or consistently start at lower shapes and connect to higher shapes, higher level shapes. So let's connect the laptop to the mobile phone, and you'll see here, for small network shapes have connection points on them. You can see over here, there's the connection point in the center of all these shapes. It's really easy to create a point-to-point glue by accident. Now, it's not such a bad thing, but if you don't want that to happen, when you're over a shape, you can either try to move around the shape till you see the big rectangle, which creates a dynamic glue connection, or hold down the control key when you go over the shape, and it will ignore all the connection points altogether. So here, if I don't hold down control, I easily get that connection point in the middle of the PDA. If I hold down control key, Visio says, oh, he really wants a dynamic glue connection, so let's just do that. And you'll see that now when I move the PDA, it's always dynamic, and the connector isn't over the shape at all. However, the mobile phone here, you can see a lot of the mobile phones have a point-to-point glue connection. You can see the small red handle in the middle, and as a result, the connectors are on top of the shapes. So before we actually start playing with layout, let's just do one trick to send all of the connectors to the back so that they're behind the shapes and don't look funny by being on top. Instead of changing all the glue types, let's just say, well, it's not so bad to be connected to the center of a piece of equipment. If we right click on a connector, we can say, where did it go? Send to back. And now it's behind the PDA. That looks nice. But an easier way to do it is to select them all at once. And so we go up to the Home tab, way over to the Editing group, click Select, drop down, and there's a Select by Type, which is partially off your screen probably. I'll just click on that. We'll choose to Select by Shape Role. We only need connectors. And then we'll say OK. Now all of the connectors are selected. You can see it looks like just connectors are turned pink and are inside this blue selection box, and just go up to the top, arrange group, and say send to back. Now all the connectors are behind the shapes and look a lot nicer. So now let's lay this diagram out. Everything's connected. It looks like a mess now, but there is an actual hierarchy. Servers are connected to laptops, and laptops are connected to smaller devices. And to double check, we've got the indices after each piece of equipment, the 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. So we don't need shape data anymore, and we can collapse the stencil window. And let's fit to page. I just use Control plus Shift plus W to do this. There's also controls down here you can use. So we'll go to the Design tab, and we have Relayout Page way over here in the Layout group. And this gives us all sorts of options that we can live preview to see how it's going to work. I think the circular view works nicely for this, and you can see that I've already made a mistake, is the server isn't connected to other laptops. So let's just drag a connector using the auto connect arrows out of this server to the laptop. And now let's experiment with, let's make sure nothing's selected with our layout. Now that's starting to make more sense. We click flowchart or hierarchy, we get a very org chart looking layout to our network diagram. We've got radial, which is a little bit funny. Circular is nice because it really splays things out in a web-like network diagram, and it makes our connectors straight at the same time. If we use, say, hierarchy, that's nice. The spacing's a little bit tight, and it might be nice to change the connectors to be straight, which you can actually do by going over to connectors and saying straight lines. That might look better. Now, before I leave the layout experimentation demo, I want to show you one last trick you can do to make the text a little bit more readable. The text belongs to each shape. So two things you can do. Network shapes have control handles that allow you to move the text out of the way. But if you're experimenting a lot with layout, this could be a little bit tedious. An easier way is just to select all the shapes, like this, go to the Home tab, and click on one of the font dialog box launchers, either for paragraph or font. It doesn't really matter, because what we're going to do is go over to the text block tab. See, that's the fourth one over. And you'll see right now the text background says solid color, but for the shapes, the equipment shapes, it's actually, there is no background color, but the connectors do have it. So that's why this is checked, even though it's not true for all of them. So just kind of click away and click back on it again. You can choose a color. I'll choose a light gray just so you can see it, but normally you would just choose white so it matches the background of the drawing, the paper. So I'll hit apply, and you can see now that all the text has this block around it, which will obscure the connectors. So let's change this to white now. Hit OK. And now you can see that the text from the equipment shapes is now on top of the connectors, and you can still follow the connector well enough, but it's a lot easier to read the text, and the drawing looks a little bit less jumbled. So that was another good reason why for sending the connectors to the very back that we did at the beginning of the video, is because now the text for each equipment shape is on top of the connector, and when we add the white background to the text, it obscures the connector. So one last time, we go to the design tab. Let's pick the radial layout because I like that. And looks like I missed it. Let's try it again. The circular layout is the one I like. And this one's a little bit fun too, because if you move things around, it changes each time. It's not always the same. Okay, we'll cut that part out.